Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Century Calendars. This is Reaper, and boy do I have a story to tell you. First, it's a nice rainy day here in Seattle. Needed my coffee. To me, that's a great day for rest, mini projects, small bits. I think it's not a rainy day much longer. I just glanced towards the window and I see sun. So I think the rain's gone. That's sad. Maybe it will come back. But you should have seen it yesterday. It was like sprinkling and pouring. It was really nice. But anyway, I digress. So I encountered... before I go into that, I have a couple of things to share, but this is the top one. I encountered my first gatekeeper, and to make it even better, this gatekeeper for the Goth community isn't even Goth. They don't support the Goth community. They're not part of the Goth community at all. But they decided to approach me and play gatekeeper. So here is the tea. So I'm just doing my thing, was running errands, and then I encountered a tenant that I have never met yet, so I'm assuming they're a new tenant. Not going to say their gender, not going to refer to their age or anything. I'm just going to refer to them as the new tenant, because you never know if they may find my channel or not. Speaking of which, there goes my notifications. One sec, you guys. Let me mute that. Okay, that's muted, so we won't be interrupted, because it's about this time when I start getting a truckload of notifications. Anyway, as I was saying, I encountered them, and they were asking me if I went to an event. Because at the time, I was in full makeup, everything. But, I just got back from a long day of running errands, hanging out with my friend, doing, some Halloween hunting, yada yada. And I just wanted to get into my apartment. I didn't want to deal with anybody. And sure enough, that doesn't happen. I encountered this person. They seemed very polite. They were asking me, did you go to an event? What's going on? Why are you dressed like that? And I said, oh, this is just me every day. I need to paint my thumbnail. Okay, so yeah, I tell them, this is just me every day. I put on makeup, I'm goth, and I tell her, it's a combo of trad goth, neon goth, pastel goth, and then the aesthetic that I like to use occasionally, which is clown goth. And they're like, well, tell me what trad goth is. So I'm trying to explain to her what trad goth is, because it's like, that's the one out of all the ones that I described to this person. They want to know what trad goth is. And so I'm telling them, it's like 80s punk type of vibe type of thing. And so they're like, okay. And they said, you do this every day? And I said, yes. How long does it take your makeup? I tell them about maybe 15 to 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay. So then left it at that. I bump into them again, and then they're like, I'm watching you. And I'm like, okay. It's like, I see, this took 30 minutes, and this is new makeup and everything, a few days later. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay, I'm just watching you. I'm watching you. Alright. Cue late last night. I'm heading home. I just got home. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've been out since 2, and it's almost 8 o'clock at night. And encountered this person again, and they said, you have some things wrong. And long story short, they go into a vast detail that they started researching the Goth community, and they got into it, and they studied it, and I'm like, okay, here we go. This is probably what Google told them or what AI told them, and sure enough, it was. they said, you seem too cheerful. So you're not a depressed person. You're also not suicidal. You're also not British. Since when do you have to be British to be Goth? And then they go into this mini argument, and luckily the front desk, the weekend front desk was there at the time, and it was my favorite one, who's also alternative, by the way. They I'm trying to think of the word. They shut that bullshit down. They shut that bullshit down. They explain, obviously what you were researching was obviously AI. From Google AI or Google searched that stuff, and they admitted it. They looked it up, and they said, and I finally just said, look, check out, insert a couple of people's channels. They go into depth about the Goth community, and they go, what I learned is right, and you're not Goth. And I said, how can you be sure? Because obviously you're not Goth. They admitted they weren't Goth. And I said, well, you have no right to gatekeep because, one, you're not part of the Goth community. Two, you don't know the real bit about it. And three, you have no right because, one, why are you complaining about how I look? And why are you complaining about, a community that you're not even a part of? Long dramatic pause. Then they went back to well, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. And I said, you need to get a life. It's been a long day and you need to get a life because obviously you have none. Because I don't know why. I mean, I thought you were friendly at first, but a little off the wall. And they're like, off the wall? Yeah. I said, I'm telling you straight. And I flat out said, normally I keep my opinion to myself, but since I am on a low fuse, tired, and you decided to swamp me, I'm letting you have it because you obviously needed to let me have it with your own opinions, so I'm just giving you the same courtesy. They didn't like it. Finally, they were told to go upstairs. I waited 5 minutes before I went upstairs because I don't know what floor this person's on. With my luck, it's probably my floor, so I didn't want to give them the pleasure of them finding out what my apartment room number is, just in case. So, I finally go upstairs, I calm down, and I do a little snacky. I shouldn't have. And I haven't seen this person today. Well, to be honest, I haven't even gone out. I just woke up early today, saw that it was raining, and just been doing a few crafts here and there. No makeup. I do need to pop a zit that's right here, though, and it hasn't formed into a head, and it's driving me crazy. Now on to the second bit, which also happened yesterday. So I'm getting ready to meet up with a friend of mine. We were on a fun mission, a little fun mission, and on my way I see a poster. It's very offensive, and the reason why I say it's offensive is because long story short, my building is against violence, is against abuse, etc., etc. This photo was for an event. It was for a specific community. I'm not going to name what type of community. But I don't think whoever designed that poster did not do their research. They just saw the picture, thought it was cool, turned it into a poster. Somebody liked it, and they decided to hang it up in the community room, which is in front of the elevator. So it's the first thing you're going to see when you come back home, if you live on that floor. So, it was a photograph, and it looked like, I'm not going to say the name, but back in the 70s, the mid-70s, there was a group that was borderline militia. And this was a group that had some very, positive, I can't, what's the word, positive, things. However, the way they, pursued it was very illegal, very violent, and be far from what they were trying to represent. And these people killed a lot of innocent people to make a point. They beat up a lot of people to make a point. They did some things that I'm not going to mention that was, let's just say, very disturbing. And the head guy, if it looked like the head guy, because he was known to have worn a mask, wear military uniforms, and basically that was the photo. It was a photo of the actual mask. If it was not the photo of the actual guy, it was a perfect replica of the person's mask, and they had I forget what it's called. It's some sort of weapon with a spike and a rope thing that you shoot at. A harpoon. It was a harpoon in one hand, and some sort, I forget the name of the gun, but it's a bad gun. It's a gun you need a license for, and and you barely can get a hold of that license because the use of that weapon is for some hard shit. But he had it in his hand, and he was posed in a giant chair that was like very Games of Thrones, that type of thing. And then the community thing was at the very bottom in tiny lettering of what it represented, but the picture itself was huge. But either way, it was offensive because it looked like a terrorist. And all I can say is whoever was designing that poster for the community event did not do their research. And when I mentioned it to front desk, they were like looking with wide eyes, like, what the F? One of my neighbors heard about it, and they wanted me to show them the poster, and I said, it's right when you open the elevator doors, you'll see it. They were so offended, they tore it down, and they brought it down to front desk, and they said, this is offensive. I have a boyfriend who is a man of color. This is not right. This is disrespectful, yada yada. And it's like, why is this being allowed? Because you guys are supposed to be a facility that's against violence. This is a person who represents violence, yada yada yada. So as far as I know, today last night they left a voicemail. They said they were going to leave a voicemail to the assistant manager, who I just found out might become our new manager, which would be great because that person's a little bit better than our latest one. So fingers crossed. But anyway, yeah. So as far as I know, they said for them to meet them at their apartment so they could show them the picture. And so yeah, they're going to show them the picture, and hopefully they'll understand what the issue is, because seriously, that's not a good thing to hang up in a building where people who are escaping violence, who are trying to avoid violence, this is a place where it's, you're against violence, and then you have something that looks like the leader of a militia, a very bad, from the mid-70s, a guy who did some very bad things, sitting on a throne like he's a king with his deadly weapons. And your only excuse is it was for a community event. You guys didn't do your research when you found that image, because if you knew what that image represented, you just basically made what I'm guessing was a positive event into a negative event. So basically what you were representing was the total, that poster made it the total opposite and changed the message. Because basically, And like I said, I'm not gonna say who this this person was. And I keep referring them as a militia person, but they're not. They were borderline a militia. And like I said, they did some very bad things to people of various ages. So yeah, I'm hoping that nothing bad happens when the poster is shown. I hope I hope the person who took it down is not told to hang it back up. And I hope and I hope they don't repost it up, because whoever did it, it's like, dude, you either don't understand who it is that's in that poster, or you do, and you're trying to say a message, and that message is not positive. So yeah, that's basically what's going on. So I don't know what the outcome's going to be. All I know is that the person that wanted me to show it to them, they took the picture down, and they're about to talk to the assistant manager today. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to be called in, but I do not want to get involved. But if I do, all I'm going to just say is, like, I saw it, and it looked like so-and-so from the mid-70s who was borderline militia, who did all this bullshit, and whoever came up with that poster did not do their research. They just saw a picture and they thought it was cool, and they used it. So, not cool. But yeah, so that's my rant for today. And yeah, so I had my first actual gatekeeper, a more determined gatekeeper. I've had a gatekeeper before, but they have not been this determined to argue. So this was an official gatekeeper. And the hilarious part was, they weren't Goth. They weren't part of the Goth community, yet they decided to gatekeep it, which is bullshit. Don't consider yourself a representative of a community you don't even support or don't even know about, except from a Google AI question and answer. So yeah, that's my rant for today. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.